Hi, my name is Chelsea Montero from Montero Manor in the mid-Atlantic state of Maryland. And this is my first live with Amy Howard at home. Yay! How are you guys? How was your day? I'm not going to be live. Today was one of those days for me. Hi Amy! I have to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous. So if you guys can please just bear with me, I would greatly appreciate it. Today has been one of those days. I got the call from school with a sick kid, came home to a sick dog, and now Mother Nature is getting ready to throw another snowstorm on us. It's been a picture perfect day. However, I'm now here with you guys, so everything is going to be better. Before we begin, again, this is my first live, so please, if there are any hiccups or speed bumps along the way, please know they're going to get better as we go along. But I have a finish for you tonight that I'm hoping you're really going to like. Before we get started, I have a question for you. Have you ever had a piece of furniture that you wanted to restore? You loved the warm wood, the gorgeous green, and you knew your vision. You knew what you wanted to do. However, your vision wasn't going to happen. You realized there were repairs that need to be made, and you thought, what are you going to do? Well, tonight, I'm going to show you what to do, because I had this happen to me recently. I went on to Facebook Marketplace. I went down that rabbit hole of searching for furniture, but I found a perfect dresser. Natural wood grain, dovetail drawers, gorgeous legs. It was perfect. I paid the woman the money. I wanted to grab it before anyone else did. I knew I wanted to have this natural finish. However, when I got home, there were repairs had to be made. And I was just like, my vision was lost. Or was it? And tonight I'm going to show you how, with a faux grain finish. So there are numerous steps in this project. So as we go along, instead of listing all the products used in the beginning, I will show you everything step by step so we don't miss anything along the way. So let's get started. Before we begin, there is one thing. Have you guys ever noticed these tools, these graining tools? These are perfect for certain projects, but we're not using these tonight. What we're going to do is we are going to draw and we are going to paint wood grain. And you're going to be amazed at what you're going to be able to do with paint, stains, and glazes. So with that, let's get started. I'm going to turn down this my camera so you can see. So again, please bear with me as I go through and do all of this. Okay, so to get started, what I did is I painted my whole piece a natural color to mimic wood. I used a pint of Amy's Molly Yellow, and I added some barn board to dye down and tone down the yellow. So with that, I got roughly like that nice clean wood look. So to get started, if you ever noticed, like within on some of the grains, you don't necessarily have these, these lines and these circles. However, you have these waves and these curves. And tonight, that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So to get started, let's imagine you have some of that grain. You take a pencil and you lightly, not heavy-handed, but lightly, kind of just draw kind of like a circle, like you would see like a piece of grain. And then you might have another one like over here. Bear with me. I promise you this is going to work out. After we draw our grain, we're going to take some stain. And I use 2 stains to make my grain. I used antique pine and Auburn mahogany. I have 2 paintbrushes, and for my base on my grain, I use the antique pine. And with that, we're going to trace our lines. You're just going to add just a little bit of antique pine, and you're just kind of going to go over your lines. Now, as we do this and we go through this project, I don't want you to think, Chelsea, what are you doing? I promise you, this is like Cinderella before the ball. You gotta get dressed, gotta do all the prep work, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get to the ball. So, once you start to draw and you have your antique pine, you need to let this dry a little bit before you you accent with your auburn mahogany. But with that, I didn't want to have to do this. I can let's try and fan it a little bit to see if it comes through, but I also have a heat gun, so if you can just bear with me for a second, we're gonna blow this thing to see if we can get this to dry pretty quickly. Now, usually what I do, when I do my pieces and I do my finishes, I don't work quickly. I work methodically, and I actually take my time because I can be very heavy-handed when it comes to doing some of this. So I have to take my time when doing this. So even though there is still some movement to our antique pine, we're now going to take our mahogany with a thinner brush, and we're kind of going to go over, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You'll see why in a second, but we're just going to accent over top of our antique pine. So now once we kind of get this is going to be one of those Karate Kid things. Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. But I promise you, there's a method to my madness. I have some baby wipes. I just got them off of Amazon, the cheap kind. So what we're going to do is now we are going to go over and we're kind of going to blend this together. And then we're going to just drag it to antique. Because we want to show, because as you know, like if you ever look at wood grain, it has definition. It has layers. It has warmth. It has movement. And that's what we're going to try and create with as we wipe it along. Now, if you happen to go and you wipe too much off like this, it's no big deal. It's just can you guys hear me okay? I'm sorry, my thing was fucking. I should make sure you can hear me. So if you take too much off, it's okay. You just kind of go back, take your stain, and go back over it. This is very forgiving. So if you you do something and you don't like it, wipe it off and start over. That's the good part of all of this. But again, we are going to do this several times because we want to add layers. We want to create movement, we want to create definition, and we want to create that faux wood grain. Again, it's a process. You're probably thinking, chill. Come on, get with it, get on with it. But as the old saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was this process. So as we go along, as you'll see, as we're building on top of, we want to build on top. We want to have layers. We want for it to look that it has age. It's worn. It's warm, and that's what we're going to do. So we keep going. Now, and when you see here, and like if we go and we add it a little bit thicker in some areas and thin in some others, you'll see why in a second. And when I was actually creating this finish, I started to think, for some of you that are really good with doing that marble effect, this is kind of the same thing. Same family, same neighborhood, just on a different block. Okay, so as we went and we left some of the thicker, what you can do is you go in a little bit closer to drag it so it looks like that perfect line within the green. And then you just kind of work your way around. And so when you're doing like a larger piece, which I will show you when we're all said and done, you have to kind of work in sections. So like with a drawer front, you know, you have to kind of go across. So like when you are pulling, you know, you're staying across, you kind of want to go across the whole piece so you don't have blotches or parts that end. So we're going to go through and we're going to soften this line. Now, once I finally get the faux grain that I like, I let it dry overnight. Now, granted, we all know that these stains can dry, you know, within a couple of hours, depending on your location and your environment. However, like I said before, I am heavy-handed. And like when we have these, you know, larger pockets of stain, I have to make sure that it's dry before I go on to my next step, because if I hit this when it's still wet, I'm going to make a mess and I'm going to have to start all over again. So patience is key. So you kind of get the idea. And then what you can also do, like in here, like see how we have some white? You can take some stain. And you're thinking again, my God, what is Amy letting this woman do on her page? I promise you, you'll like the end. So when we do this, what you're going to do is you're going to gently wipe it. And you will see, you wipe it off, not too hard, but you'll see you're starting to get the definition, you're starting to get lines. You're starting to create a faux green. So I already did do another piece of this, so you'll see what it actually looks like, but you get the idea of the process. And then sometimes, because see, look, like if you take it, and can you see like how you can then make it look like that perfect green. I have to be honest with you, I am one of those people who loves the grungy look. I love all of the old pieces, the patina, cracked patina, I absolutely love. But, you know, the wear, it tells a story, and I love having pieces like that. And at times when I have a new piece, I will go ahead and create one of these old finishes. And my husband is like, what are you doing? That's a brand new piece. Why are you? And I'm like, babe, I got a vision. I get lots of visions. Okay, so but you get the idea of where I'm going, right? So here is my piece that dried overnight. You can see, you know, the different definitions, the stain pulled through. This is my green. So now I want to go over top and create another layer to this magic. And this time, what we are going to use is we are going to use glaze and stain. So with this, I am going to use glazed over, and rule of thumb to remember, depending on your piece, make sure you make enough of to mix enough to finish your whole piece, because sometimes if you only mix so much and you go back to make the another batch, it's not the same consistency, it's not the same color, it's not the same shade, and you're just like, shoot, what do I do? Okay, so with this, it all depends on the amount that you're going to use, depending on how much you use. Basically, I go with, obviously a majority of it is my glaze, and then I am just going to accent it with both the antique pine and the mahogany stains to get that. Since both of those stains are in here, we're going to mix these two together to get another shade, but in the same family. So we're just going to mix this together. And I'm going to show you, I saved like everything that I did when I did my other piece, so I just wanted to show you when I did my other piece. There's still some left, but I wanted to show you like how I made it. I'm actually going to use this so it all comes out the same, but you see what I did. It's use the glaze, and then you tint it with the stains. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take a chip brush, and then you're just going to place it in the direction of your green. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I promise I will come back when this is over to answer them. If you're wondering why or how much, I will definitely answer any questions. So now, instead of using one of these tools, I'm going to take, I found this brush on Amazon, and if you're wondering what this is actually a dog brush. It's made of rubber that's pliable, however it's firm, and it's going to give me lines that I'm looking for. So if you want, I found these on Amazon, and I can tell you what these are later down the road. Now what you're going to do is we are going to drag this across our glaze. And when we do this, so when you do this, depending on your piece, you're going to want to make sure you got some room to move. So like when I did my dresser, I had to make sure that I had enough space and that I wasn't going to be stopped within my movement. I was going to be able to go all the way across non-stop. So with that, what we're going to do, and remember, you don't want to be heavy-handed. Well, unless that's what you're looking for, but for this piece, you have to try to be firm yet gentle, if that makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to go just like straight across. We're just going to go across. Do you see those lines? see the lines? It's going to create, now remember, this is the, Cinderella's, ugly stepsister. Give it time. We're going to get to the ball. But this is just part of the process. Now, when using this brush, and especially like when you have a dresser, and like, I'll show you on mine, like when you come to your dresser, and like if you have the side, and then you have your top like this, and you think, how do you get to this top part? The parts of this brush that help is there are little bitty edges that can help maneuver that. So all you're just going to do is just get that edge so it looks uniform, and we're ready for our next step. Now, before we get to our next step, you want to make sure that this part is completely dry. And when I did this, I literally let it sit overnight. Because once again, I didn't want to lose. If you come back along and you put our next step on top of it, it's going, if this is wet, you're going to pull it and you're going to lose your line. You're going to lose the lines that you have drawn for your green. So you want to make sure that it's absolutely dry. So for sake and purposes, I do have another piece that's finished, but I'm just going to show you, we're going to hit this with the heat gun so we can keep going. So bear with me, here we go. I appreciate you guys staying with me through this. I know, like I said, this is my first time. I might get a little tongue-tied. I definitely got the butterflies, let me tell you. I took an extra dose of those today. But I'm really appreciative that you guys have stayed along. So as you can see, the gel stains do dry pretty quickly. However, you need to remember when you have pockets that are thicker, they may look like they're dry on the top, but you want to make sure that they're dry all the way through. Because again, if you go and we put our next layer on top, we're going to lose our lines. This is still a little wet, but I want to make sure you get the right look. And if you're still with me, it's really cold here, so it takes a little things longer to dry. So our next step is we're going to use another glaze, but remember we're going to stay in the same family. We're going to use our glazed over again. However, we are not going to use, we are done with our stains. We are going to go back to our one step, and we're going to use our barn. So with that, now because we have our one line here and we're going to go and put another layer of glaze over top, we're going to want to add a little bit of water to this grain, to this glaze, because we want this to be a little bit more translucent. We want to be able to see through down to, you know, our lines and our grains. So what we're going to do is we are going to use a majority glaze, and then we are going to use, we are just going to tint it with the one step, and then we're just going to add a little bit of water. So when I did this, and if you can bear with me, I didn't bring enough spoons over. When I did this, you have to make sure that you are constantly stirring your glaze, because your paint will settle at the bottom, and the further you get down into your glaze, if you're not mixing and if you don't have the water, then when you get down to the bottom, your glaze is going to be darker than when you originally started. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my barn board. I'm going to take a little bit of water, and we're going to mix it together. And with this, we're going to get somewhat of that whitewashed look. We're still going to get the natural wood, but we're just going to get that later look. And it looks like we're good here. But with this time, with applying this glaze, I am going to use a synthetic brush because I want this to be smooth. So with that, we are going to apply this in different directions. We want to make sure that we're getting up against the grain, beside the grain, every which way. And the thing with this also is you can have some inconsistencies. You can have some where it's heavier with glaze and somewhere where it's lighter, because it's going to create definition. It's going to create depth. So with that, we are now going to, you want this to dry a little bit, not all the way, just a little bit. So you can get, we can go back across with our brush. So I'm going to hit this with a heat gun just to get this to dry, to come to tack a little bit, and then we'll go through the next process. But I do have a finished sample, and I do have my final piece, so you can see exactly what this looks like. So then what you want to do is you want to come back along, and you are just going to go across and kind of create that whitewash look. And what happens when it's all dry, it ends up, I let this dry overnight, I don't touch it, I don't look at it, I walk away. Because if I stay with it, I'm going to think, oh, I have to fix this, I have to fix that. Nope, I'm going to walk away and let this dry. And when I do, it's going to come out just like this. You can kind of, I'm hoping you can see with the light, you can still see our lines of grain that we drew. You can see the lines that we drew with our brush, with the darker stains, and then you can see our whitewash. And when we're done, again, I'm going to show you, and I hope I'm so glad you're still with me, and I apologize if I sound tongue-tied, but I promise you it does look good. And if I move my table out of the way, and if you bear with me, all right, this here is my finished piece. This is what I was talking about. This here, this is what I started with. As you can see, there were, wood accents that were broken. I really was excited about this bottom. However, it was also broken. I wasn't able to fix it. However, I was able to repair it. I was able to keep those clean lines. And this is what I came up with. And if you can see it, if we were friends, I would take, my camera off the ring and get real close so you could see it. And I promise you what I'll do is I'll take photos, close-ups, and put them on social so you can see them. But I promise you, this really does look good. I had my husband come through, and he was just like, I thought you were going to do something to that, because he thought it was real wood. And I was like, babe, it's not, it's painted. This is not real wood. But if you can see, let me see if I can pull this over. Oh, you gotta love technology when you can pull this. Okay, so if you can see, like on top, you can see like when we did it, you can see our lines. You can see what looks like grain. It's not, it's paint. It's stain, it's glazes. And that is the power of Amy's products. I absolutely love that. So you can see there's a bunch of definition. It's smooth to the touch, yet it's got movement. It looks like real wood. So with that, this has been, it's 8:30 Eastern time. I was supposed to stay on here for 20 minutes. I went a little bit over, so I'm sorry if I did, but I appreciate you who stayed with me. But look at this. What do you think? Does it look like real wood? You can lie to me. I would still appreciate it if you just said that it did. But I'm telling you, I'm absolutely in love with it, and this is going in my house, and my husband's going to kill me because I made him take it out of the house so I could take a picture and bring it back in here to show you guys. Now we're going back in the house. Sorry, babe, if you're watching it. It's coming back in the house. But I would love to know your thoughts. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I promise you I'll come back. And thank you again for sticking with me. I greatly appreciate it. And I promise this will get better as we go on. And I won't be as tongue-tied. Thanks again. And for you, all those in the Northeast, stay warm tomorrow. Have a great snow day. Thanks for sticking with me. I'll see you guys next month. Later. I don't know. But I'll see you later. Bye. Thanks for staying with me.